So that's the model. It's called the paced model, which is another reason I love it, because it's all about pace and delivering that pace and delivering for people. So it's purpose, abundance, connection, exploration, and downtime. Hi, and welcome to Helping You Perform. I'm your host, Paul Teasdale. Over a career working with high-performing teams from across the globe, including 7 years working with Formula One team McLaren, I've learned a lot about what it takes to drive results. In this weekly podcast series, I'm going to be bringing you tips, tricks, and insights from the world of Formula One that you can apply to your organisation for your high performance. Enjoy. Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 25 of Helping You Perform, where I bring my tips, tricks and insights and some of the stories from the world of F1 and other high performing teams and help you apply those principles to accelerate your own performance. I hope you had the opportunity to listen to last week's episode 24, where I talked about reframing your meetings. That's looking at addressing those meetings that you have in your organization using the reframe model that I introduced in episode 23. If you hadn't had an opportunity, I'd recommend going back and listening to those. I've had a lot of success and a lot of discussions recently about how people are using that to help them with their thinking. In this week's episode, I want to talk about the topic of burnout. Now, what's triggered this is it's the start of the summer holidays here in the UK. Some schools have already finished up, but my kids both finished up last Friday, so this is the first week of summer holidays. And it's that classic time of year at the end of a season, whatever that might be, where you start to feel burned out. You actually start to go, what's gone on? There's so much energy that I've been expending all through that season, all through that school year, that actually, now that it's not there, I'm having some sort of burnout, some sort of fizzle out, where this is actually affecting my performance and affecting how I perform on a day-to-day basis. Now, I'm seeing this in my kids. I'm seeing it a little bit in myself, if I'm honest. But I'm also reflecting back on my days in F1, where it was actually a topic that started to get more and more discussion as I was there about the topic of burnout, and particularly at the end of a season. So if you think about the season in an F1 team, you're talking about 20, maybe 20 plus races in a year, high intensity, lots of travel. You know, you're jet lagged, you're focused, it's highly pressurized, and you're working through that on a week-to-week basis, sometimes coming back to your family, sometimes being on the road all the way through with back-to-back meetings and back-to-back races. So you spend all of that time and all of that focused energy and you're performing at your best, and it's when you step back that sometimes you burn out. And that downtime, those bits in between seasons, can be as dangerous to burnout as the pressure that you put yourself under during those seasons as well. So I just wanted to use this as an opportunity, one, to think about approaching the topic of burnout, but also thinking about what does that mean to you, when's your season, and it might not be your season, it might be your school ski season for your kids, it might be your buying season, your financial year, if you're in the finance world or associated with that. So all of these things can be high pressure, and then when the pressure's off, you can feel yourself burning out. Now, I'm going to adopt a framework here, and I'm sure you won't mind at all because I'm promoting this framework. It's an amazing framework for helping address burnout, and it comes from my good friend Jimmy Burroughes, who's actually just released this book called Beat Burnout, Ignite Performance. Amazing book. Go out and get yourself a he's not paying me to advertise this, but I would highly recommend it as a framework. And you know how much I love frameworks, to go out and just do something about avoiding burnout in the first place, or when there is that burnout, what can you do to get yourself back on track? Now, part of the reason I'm using this is on reflection, seeing that framework and reflecting on the world of F1, all of those things were in play. And those elements that Jimmy talks to in his book are purpose, abundance, connection, exploration, and downtime. And I'll talk through each one of those in its own right. So purpose is about being connected to your purpose as an individual, but having a team's purpose and an organization purpose as well. Now, everyone within the McLaren team where I worked was very clear that the purpose was to dominate that sport. That's what they're there to do. They're there not to just win the next race, not to win the next season, but we want to get back in terms of dominating the sport. So everything is driven towards that sustainable, highest of the high, elite performance. And that has a big effect on people, by the way, in terms of framing that purpose of we want to win the next race. Well, that can get you focused on that next race, but it doesn't necessarily keep you sustained. So having that wider purpose that people can connect to is a really important element, and one that I saw really strong throughout my time at McLaren. The next element is abundance. So this is the reverse or the antithesis of scarcity. So in a lot of organizations, you'll see individuals holding on to the data and the knowledge that they've got, scared to share because they don't believe that that is going to be good for them in the long run. It comes particularly in times where there's lots of redundancies or there's focus, there's lots of high pressure. People go, well, I've got to protect myself, so I'm not going to give out. Whereas in a world of abundance, what you're doing is you're adding fuel to that fire. If you're going off and you're collecting the wood, in a scarcity world, you're bringing that and you're burning it and you're keeping it for yourself and maybe keeping yourself warm. In an abundant world, you're putting that on the communal fire, giving it to others and helping everybody warm up. And ultimately, everybody performs at their best. Now, that came about a lot in McLaren in those high pressure, high intensity moments. Because what you see is people not, instead of saying, well, I'm an electronics engineer, that's not my job to fix that particular aerodynamics problem. But the purpose was so connected to that individual and to those teams that they said, what can I do? How can I assist? Even if it's taken off some of the admin, can I go and get you lunch so that you can keep focusing on this job? Can I do something for you that helps you achieve your purpose? Because it's going to help me achieve my purpose ultimately. And it's about giving more than I'm expecting to receive. And that goes nicely to the next piece, which is connection. So it's about those connections between people. It's about understanding the individuals in your team. When you're working in a pit crew, for instance, you can't just be, working alongside individuals. You don't know them, you don't understand them. You've got to know those people inside out. That's when you get the best performance, because you can connect to them on a personal level. You can understand what motivates them in those moments. You can connect them back to what's really important to them. If you know them and have a connection with them, you can talk about their purpose and how they can be more abundant in this team. The E is for exploration. Now, this is for going out and just thinking of different things to do and trying new things and seeing if they work. Now, this is synonymous in the world of F1. It's very much an innovation sport. And innovation isn't just in the design of the car. There was exploration and willingness to try things in how we conduct the meetings. How do you get yourself prepared? How do you have different media outlets? How do you connect with your audience and your fan base? Always exploring different modes to see what works and having that abundant mindset to go, I'm going to give out in a different way and I'm going to explore something and see what it brings back to me. And the final one is downtime. I actually talked about this in episode 18, I believe, one of the previous episodes, about the importance of having that downtime. So when it comes to the end of the season, when it comes to the end of the school year or financial year or operating period or end of a big project, it's important to have that downtime and to connect back to what it means to you personally. To go back and say, right, I'm going to just take a break. I'm going to deliberately not be thinking about this. And it was a very important part of the end of season was, how are you going to plan in some downtime? What are you going to do that's going to take you away from this, refresh your brain, and get you at your best for next time we need you to perform? So that's the model. It's called the paced model, which is another reason I love it, because it's all about pace and delivering that pace and delivering for people. So it's purpose, abundance, connection, exploration, and downtime. So do have a think about that for yourself. I again just highly recommend going out and having a look at that book and connecting up with Jimmy Burroughes. But this is an important piece for you. When it comes to that end of season for you, what are you going to do to make sure that you're not going to burn out at the end of that season? Or what are you going to do if you are feeling burnt out so that you can focus on those things for next season? Maybe it's just the next month, maybe it's the next week. But if you can do one thing in each of those 6 areas, then you are really aligning yourself to be able to perform at your best and ignite that performance that you're trying to get. So as always, reach out to me if you want to talk about this any further. If you want to be connected with Jimmy and you want to, I'll put a link into the notes here as to where you can find him, where you can find his book. But this is all about making sure that when you have those moments of burnout, you are reaching out to other people, you're reaching out for help. It might just be a book, it might be a website. Speak to people, focus on those things that are going to get you back performing at your best. As always, I'd love a free 30-minute conversation where we talk about this stuff, no obligation, no sale. This is about me connecting with you, me being abundant in everything I can do, going back to my purpose, exploring new things, and maybe having just that opportunity for what I consider a bit of downtime, really, like refreshment of just connecting with other people. So do reach out to me. I'd love to hear about your issues, your opportunities, and how I can help. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Helping You Perform podcast. If you found value in this episode, please take a moment to like, share, or review the podcast. You can reach out to me at any time, either through LinkedIn or through my website at www.paulteasdale.co.uk. I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode.